You're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the cycle. That's the part most people don't want to admit because it forces responsibility back onto you. Saying you miss them feels easier. It feels cleaner. It feels like something outside of you. But what you're actually missing isn't the person. It's the pattern your nervous system adapted to. It's the emotional rhythm you got used to. It's the sequence of tension, relief, uncertainty, and resolution that your system learned how to respond to. That's what keeps pulling you back. Not them, the cycle. It was never just them. It was never just about who they were. It was about how they showed up. Inconsistent, unpredictable, engaging one moment and distant the next. Present when it felt intense and unavailable when things stabilized. That pattern created contrast, and contrast is what your system reacts to. Not stability, not consistency. Contrast. The highs felt stronger than they were. Because when things were good, they felt amplified. Attention felt more valuable. Connection felt deeper. Validation felt stronger. But it wasn't stronger because it was real. It was stronger because it followed absence. When something disappears and then returns, your system assigns more value to it. Not because it changed, because of the gap. The lows created urgency, and when things dropped, it didn't feel neutral. It felt like something was taken away, like something you had was suddenly gone. And your system reacted to that immediately. Not logically, emotionally. It wanted to restore what was lost. It wanted to get back to what felt good. This is the loop your system learns. High, drop, relief, repeat. That's the loop. And once your system experiences that enough times, it stops seeing it as a problem. It starts seeing it as normal. It starts expecting it. You call it something meaningful, but you don't label it as a cycle. You call it connection, chemistry, something rare, something intense, something that feels different from anything stable. Because it does feel different. But different doesn't mean healthy. Different doesn't mean sustainable. Different just means unfamiliar. Intensity distorts perception. Intensity distorts how you evaluate things. It makes small moments feel significant. It makes inconsistent behavior feel meaningful. It makes instability feel like depth. And when your system is in that state, you don't see clearly. You react. Your nervous system adapts quickly. Your nervous system adapts faster than your logic does. It starts associating certain patterns with relief. It starts recognizing emotional shifts and preparing for them. It anticipates the drop. It anticipates the return. And it builds behavior around that expectation. You start responding automatically. So when the drop happens, you don't pause and evaluate. You react, you reach out, you try to reconnect, you try to restore what was there before. Not because you decided to, because your system is trying to return to relief. Relief becomes the real reward. And this is where it locks in. The reward is not the connection. The reward is the relief from the drop. That moment when things feel okay again. That moment when the tension disappears. That moment becomes the target. You think you miss them. So when you feel the pull, you tell yourself you miss them, that you want them back, that something is unfinished, that you need closure. But what you're actually craving is the end of the tension, the return to relief. You miss the transition. You don't miss the person. You miss the transition. From uncertainty to reassurance, from distance to attention, from silence to engagement. That shift is what your system got hooked on. Stability doesn't create spikes. And when something is stable, it doesn't create that shift. There's no drop, no urgency, no need to fix anything. And your system interprets that as a lack of connection. You misread calm as boring. You think something is missing, that it's not as strong, that it's not as real. But what's missing isn't connection, it's instability. And your system has learned to associate instability with meaning. You were conditioned by the pattern because you weren't just experiencing the situation, you were being conditioned by it. Repeated exposure to the same loop trained your responses. You keep returning to what feels familiar. So even when you leave, you feel pulled back. Not because it makes sense, because it feels familiar. And familiarity feels safe even when it isn't. Familiar does not mean healthy. Familiar just means known. It means your system recognizes it. It knows what to expect. It knows how to respond. That predictability creates comfort even when the pattern itself is unstable. You confuse intensity with love. And that's where most people get stuck. They confuse intensity with love. They think strong emotional reactions mean something meaningful is happening. But intensity is not a measure of quality. It's a measure of fluctuation. Dependency hides as attachment. What feels like attachment is often dependency on the pattern, on the emotional cycle, on the repeated experience of losing and regaining connection. You stop seeing clearly. Once you're inside the cycle, your perspective shifts. You stop evaluating the situation objectively. You start responding to how it feels moment to moment. Your behavior starts following the loop. You become reactive. You adjust your behavior to maintain the connection. You tolerate things you wouldn't normally tolerate. You justify things you wouldn't normally accept. You negotiate with your own standards. You start lowering your expectations. Not all at once. Gradually, you give more chances. You make more exceptions. You stay longer than you planned. You already see this. Let's be direct. You've experienced this before. You've felt this loop. You've recognized the pattern. You just haven't named it clearly. Because naming it removes the illusion. And once the illusion is gone, the decision becomes obvious. The pattern repeats with different people. This is how you know it's not about them. The pattern repeats. Different person. Same rhythm. Same emotional structure. Same cycle. You're responding to the same loop because the pattern is what your system is responding to, not the individual, the structure. Your system expects the cycle. Over time, your system starts expecting the highs and lows. It anticipates them, it prepares for them, and it starts seeking them. Breaking the pattern feels wrong at first. So, when you step away, it doesn't feel right. It feels quiet. It feels unfamiliar. It feels like something is missing. You misinterpret that feeling. You interpret that discomfort as loss, as if something important is gone. But what's actually gone is the cycle. Your system wants to return to what it knows. And your system will try to pull you back, not because it's good for you, because it's familiar. You have to tolerate consistency. This is the shift. You have to learn to tolerate consistency, to sit in something stable without needing a spike to feel engaged. You stop reacting to the drop. You stop responding to every dip. You stop chasing the return. You stop feeding the loop. The urge starts to fade. And when you stop reinforcing the cycle, the intensity fades. The pull weakens. Not because the situation changed, because your response did. Clarity returns when you step out. When you step out of the cycle, your perspective returns. You see things clearly again, without distortion. You realize it was never about them. You realize it was never about them. It was about what your system adapted to. You take back control of your responses. And once you see that, you stop confusing chaos with connection. You stop mistaking intensity for meaning. Break the cycle or repeat it. You're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the cycle. And until you break that cycle, you will keep repeating it. Different person, same pattern, same outcome. But the moment you stop feeding it, everything changes. Not because they changed, because you did. Thank you for watching. This is MindStickz.